Okay, guys, as you can see, I got my cringe protection apparatus on. Um, and I have to say, before I get started on this, that I really don't know what's going on. I really do not know what's going on. I really don't think I understand YouTube or social media because I've been hearing a lot about this guy just on podcasts and on YouTube videos. And this guy has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I mean, he's one of the biggest political voices. He's one of the biggest political voices in the country of the United States right now, which is a little troubling. And all his videos have like 500,000 views. So I just want to look into this, and we're going to take I'm going to try my hardest not to be mean, okay? But I just want to point some things out to you in this guy's videos, okay? If I can do that. Okay, so this first video is about Johnny Rotten, who's been making news lately. So let's take a look.
Punk rock legend Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols was recently seen wearing a Make America Great Again shirt, and Twitter erupted with leftists freaking out saying, how could this have happened? A punk rock icon.
The first thing about this is that this video was uploaded just a couple days ago, October 11th, 2020, year of our Lord. Johnny Rotten has been doing this since Trump took office. He's been doing this since 2017. Let me see if I could find this. This article is from March 28th, 2017 in Billboard. Sex Pistols Johnny Rotten to Americans, support Trump or you will destroy the country. He's been doing this stuff for years. For years, my friends. And you might want to check out this article. Here's an interesting part. And we'll go into Johnny Rotten in a second because to just be totally upfront, I was a huge Sex Pistols fan in high school. I even read not an autobiography, but a biography called Rotten about Johnny Rotten. So I think that no, I'm just kidding. But I feel like I know a little bit about this, enough to talk about it. So the guy from Block Party, I don't know how to say his name, but in 2008, he released a statement saying that at a Barcelona festival, Rotten's entourage launched into a, quote, racist tirade against him, which included the statement, quote, your problem is your black attitude. I wanted to also point out that this guy, I call him Tim Cool, because I feel like he's a really cool guy. Because he wears a beanie and stuff. I'm going to try not to be mean to him either because, like, I don't know what's going on in this guy's brain. You know, I've gone through phases where I'm, like, mixed up and saying crazy stuff and acting stupid. So I'm not going to try to be too mean, but I probably will end up being mean. But as far as Johnny Rotten, okay, let's get straight. He's saying punk icon Johnny Rotten. But what is Johnny Rotten really now in 2020 or 2016 or 2017? He's an old man in his 60s, he's like in his late 60s, millionaire who hates everyone. I mean, if you know the littlest thing about the Sex Pistols, if you know the littlest thing about Johnny Rotten, you'll know two things. He's a troll, he's a crank, and this guy hates everyone. He hates other people. And this is like his persona, his public image. It might be a bit limited, but it's his public image. That he hates everyone. He's a crank. He's unlikable. He's the type of guy you would cross the street to avoid. This is Johnny Rotten's whole thing. and doubtless he's doing the MAGA thing, where walking around with a MAGA shirt just to make everybody mad. Is Johnny Rotten coming out talking about policy? Is Johnny Rotten really against Medicare for all? Is Johnny Rotten really against people, public college and stuff? No, he's an old crank troll. All right, let's keep going with this dingus.
Being for Trump? How could someone from an Irish working class background actually support Trump?
Okay, remember, he says he's from an Irish working class background. Again, just think about all the t-shirts you see. Just if you go into like whatever, a Hot Topic or whatever. One of these Spencer's Gifts. Think about how many things you see with the Sex Pistols logo on them. This guy's not a working class guy. This is a multi-millionaire for decades. And by the way, I want to say I'm cracking on Johnny a little bit, but a lot of the Sex Pistols stuff is pretty good. I still kind of like it. And of course, World Destruction, Your Life Ain't Nothing. One of the best songs ever made. You should probably close this video and go watch that. But this guy is missing the joke like so far. And if you wanted to, so is he trying to tell us that like people who are punk are like, the left is too crazy that even us punks don't do it anymore? Well, do you want to go and take a look at Jello Biafra's videos right now? I don't think you want to, okay? Or really any punk are punk and hardcore people historically, remember you could like read even like Henry Rollins stuff. Were these guys like pro-business? Were they pro-business tax cuts? And super pro-religion? I mean, what, you think these guys are right-wingers? Like, what are you talking about? Okay, let's keep listening to this nonsense.
It's not Johnny who changed, it's you. Take it from someone who worked at Vice magazine at a time when they were anything but politically correct.
Uh-oh. You mean back when Vice magazine was anything but politically correct, where they would interview like Sasha Grey and say, hey, Sasha, do you have sex with a person? And she would say, yeah. Like, what are you trying to do? Like show off how edgy Vice was at one point before they made any money? What are you talking about? Anyway, just seems like a little bit of a goofy whatever.
And now look where Vice is. Absolutely politically correct. And I talked to some of my former Vice colleagues about the change. And they said, you guys changed and became right-wing. And I said, I'm still a fan of George Carlin and Jon Stewart, and hold all of the same, for the most part, political positions. I am a gun owner now.
I mean, I went through this guy's Twitter, and everything is like Trump support and Trump defense. So you still hold the same views as like George Carlin, who, by the way, was pretty. I mean, you can go watch clips of him on Bill Maher's thing. Dude was pretty anti-capitalist. So are you saying that you believe that there's a super far left in this country who's just, they're out to destroy everything, whatever that means, but somehow you're anti-capitalist or something? This dude just seems like completely mixed up. I don't know what's going on here. And Jon Stewart was like one of the, most well-known like liberals, I guess, of his time. I mean, nobody really pays any attention to Jon Stewart now, but I don't know what to tell you. He definitely was pretty anti-right wing. I mean, he's not a Trump fan. I mean, this guy's a Trump supporter. Just look at his Twitter.
That I did back then. And then they said, you're right. Maybe it is us that changed. Maybe it's you all on the left who just drove off a cliff. And now you're surprised to find that the guy who was constantly antagonizing the establishment is still antagonizing the establishment.
So this guy's antagonizing the establishment by wearing a MAGA shirt? You understand that the establishment is like Trump's the president, and the pretty much the entire government is controlled by Republicans who are fall right behind Trump. So what are you talking about anti-establishment? What the fuck are you talking about, dude? I like also how he makes it seem like he's like, oh, like these I guess he's setting up the premise of like these lefty punks. Now they all like Trump too. Can you name me like some other punk people who aren't 68-year-old millionaires who are heavy Trump supporters? Good luck.
But there is something else here. Perhaps a sign that regular people are not on board with this far-left lunacy and this weird cult of intersectionality. Could it be
he's
perhaps
a regular
that Trump...
guy. Johnny Rotten's a regular guy now. Regular people like Johnny Rotten, a guy whose band is on like every possible t-shirt store you go into, like novelty fucking t-shirt store will have a Sex Pistol shirt. Just a normal guy. Been famous since the 60s. Normal guy. Or what would it be, like 70s? When did Sex Pistols really pop off? Late 70s? I can't remember.
Trump is actually winning. The polls are broken again. Maybe. And that's really what I want to get into. You know why? Because I saw a video from Bridget Fedesi. You may know Bridget. She's a columnist, a podcaster, and she's politically homeless, right? I guess she used to be.
By the way, Daily Wire. This is Ben Shapiro's thing, right? This is the website that was helped established by fracking billionaires, who, by the way, go on a search on this site for fracking. Not a lot of negative articles in there, weirdly. It's paid for by fracking guys. No negative articles, all super positive about fracking. Interesting. That's sort of a weird thing. Also, again, everybody knew about this for the past like 3 years that Johnny Rotten was being a troll, being a weirdo with the MAGA stuff. I guess since this guy only reads right-wing sites like the Daily Wire, he just found out about it. So I guess that's good journalism.
Be a liberal kind of like me, but now she doesn't know what she's going to do. She posted a video where a Trump parade was marching for minutes past an intersection in Los Angeles. Los Angeles had a Trump parade. And there have been a bunch of Trump parades throughout the country recently, and boat parades. And maybe that sentiment that we're seeing.
By the way, like, you guys know, like, fans of this guy, you know that there's other content on the internet, right? Like, can I just throw that out there? That it's not like you're not obligated to watch this. I mean, there's people out there who are like funny and charismatic and stuff. Okay, I promised I wouldn't make fun of this guy at a personal level, and God bless him, he figured out a way to make money on YouTube, which ain't popping off for your boy here, but God bless him. I mean, I guess, and I will say this: if this is what I got to do to get an audience on YouTube, get people to pay attention, is like start supporting, borderline fascism and weird right-wing religious theocracies and stuff, I'm going to pass on YouTube. I'm going to pass on building a YouTube subscriber base, okay? Not going that far with it. I'll figure out a different way to make money, okay? Okay? Guys?
Says more than what a poll could ever say.
I don't know even what the fuck he's talking about. Some lady was a liberal and now she's not anymore.
I mean, come on. LA is as blue can get. Where are the Trump supporters coming from? Now, okay, perhaps these Trump supporters are just the few and far between 1/3 of the state that actually are conservative marching around. Or maybe there are people like Johnny Rotten, regular people who don't like the establishment and...
Why the fuck does he keep calling Johnny Rotten a regular person? This guy is absolutely as far as you could get from a regular person. Again, the dude's been famous for, 50 years? 40 years? I mean, we're talking like ultra famous? At least 40, well, yeah, like around 40 years. This dude's been ultra famous. And he's a regular person? What the fuck are you talking about? Even, I mean, there's tons of videos where this guy is just straight up like saying crazy shit, but this is just like, it shows a sort of cluelessness as to like basic idea, like very, very like sort of the basic geography of culture. You know what I mean? Like just knowing anything about how the world works. Okay, let's keep going.
Never did.
Again, though, God bless him for getting all these subscribers.
Saying straight up, Trump is the counterculture, not you. Have you ever stopped to think about this?
Wow.
These punk rock leftists.
Trump, the president of the United States, the corporate tax cut president, He's fighting the establishment. He's fighting the establishment. Like, you know, what's more establishment? He's fighting the deep state, I guess, right? Is that what it is? He's president, yet he's somehow fighting the establishment. Like, how does alarms not go off in your brain when you're saying this stuff? Like, hey, ding, 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 ding. What I'm saying is completely, these two things conflict totally. These two things don't match. What I'm saying is this is opposites. He is literally the highest government official in the world, really, but he hates the establishment. He's a guy who was born rich, who inherited $500 million, but he hates those elites establishment. Man, this is, people watch this stuff. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. We're dumb nation at this point, right? We're stupid beyond repair, I guess. This is TFG nation. TFG nation. Because if this guy's this popular and he gets 500,000 views in one day, oh boy. Woo! Woo! We're in trouble.
Who claim to still be punk, having all of their opinions align perfectly with every major corporation. What is punk rock about that?
Wait.
Now let's corporate. Have you ever are conservative marching around? Or maybe there are people like Johnny Rotten, regular people who don't like the establishment and never did, saying straight up, Trump is the counterculture, not you. Have you ever stopped to think about this? These punk rock leftists who claim to still be punk, having all of their opinions align perfectly with every major corporation.
What does that mean? There's punk rockers who their interests align with every. What does that even mean? Is he saying that they're like, because corporations will make, I guess, commercials where there's like people of different skin tones in the commercial, and they don't say the N-word in the commercial, maybe is his what he's going for here, and that makes them super woke or something. But from what I understand, what corporations really like is not paying taxes and not being regulated, which that's your boy. I mean, what the man, who watches this? Who watches? Guys, if you clicked on this because you were like, oh, my favorite internet celebrity, Tim Pool, what the fuck are you watching this? What is this? This is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. This dude just said that, like, punk rockers are pro-corporate somehow. Because sort of like, let's think of the average, like, punk house. Like, I've lived in a punk house before, like a band house. Yeah, what they're talking about, you know, when they do some show where they send out a Facebook blast for people to come to their garage show in their basement or whatever. Yeah, what they're talking about is like, hey, we really need to cut taxes for the top income bracket. We really need to get rid of all this regulation. You know what we need is like trickle down economics. Punks loved Reagan. I don't know if you guys knew this. Punks, they loved Reagan. Like that whole era that punk was kind of born in, super pro Reagan. Like they loved all, and Thatcher. Oh man, they love old Maggie Thatcher. I mean, the most basic knowledge of what he's talking about here decimates these arguments. I mean, this is like, and even a dingus, like a 19-year-old who is just now finding out about punk and maybe like read a couple wikis about it would be like, yeah, makes no sense what this guy's saying. Oh boy, am I going to keep doing this? Should I keep going through this video? I mean, I literally feel like I should have checked my IQ before and after this video. I'm also feel like I'm going to get diarrhea from watching this video. Like it's affecting me at a cellular, biological level. What are you guys doing? Why are you watching this? Are you watching this satirically?
What is punk rock about that? Now, listen, I'm 34. I'm not going to pretend to know what the ancient lore of punk rock legends.
There we go. Okay. The ancient lore, like doing a little bit of research on this before doing a video.
Says, I grew up with a bunch of far left friends playing punk rock music, and I'll tell you what it meant to me. Maybe it didn't mean the same thing to you, and maybe this isn't what it actually meant, but it was young people who are spitting in the face of social norms and the establishment, the major corporations, the stodgy moral authoritarians. And the reason we wore the clothes we did was because we purposefully did not want to fit in. We wanted to throw.
This guy knows, like, just think about who was censoring music. Who was censoring, like, throughout recent political history, like who was like, this is satanic, this should be banned. That was the far left, right? Let's keep going.
Hence why you'll never see me wearing a suit. Hence, I went to the White House wearing this, a beanie and a t-shirt. I was the only person. And all these conservatives were laughing. Tim Pool didn't wear a suit to the White House. Oh, that's Tim. You bet I didn't wear a suit. I grew up punk rock. I care not for your social constructs.
What's going on? What the fuck is going on right now? What's going on right now? This argument is probably one of the stupidest things, especially right now, this idea that like conservatism is the new punk rock. Like, what does that even mean? So, I mean, okay, let's just forget all the historical context to the art form and all this. Let's just think about that in reality, in real hard terms. So what you're saying is that it's punk to be pro corporate tax cuts and anti-regulation, basically just to be an oligarch, basically, because that's the policies that we're seeing in the current administration. And to be for Medicare for all, I guess, and for maybe like some expansion of worker co-ops, and that you don't go into debt if you go to college, that you have, or at least you have some public college options, that's like conservative. I mean, they literally, both parties call the dude this is Sanderino, Bernard Sanderino, who he would be the punk in this situation because he's not accepted anywhere. I mean, not even in the media. The New York Times ripped this guy apart during the primary. Like, and MSNBC and all these places were like, we can't have this guy. We can't have this guy messing up stuff. He would be the punk. He would be punk because nobody wants that guy. And those policies of like debt-free college and universal healthcare and all that, which are majority positions in the United States, by the way. He's talking about the average person, like a 68-year-old millionaire. He represents America, not the people when polled. Most of them say, yeah, we want universal healthcare and debt-free college. Those people. What about those guys? He's like, I don't want to look at that. Because I can't make money from those people. Let's see what else. What else do we got?
For the most part, I think I believe in individual freedom. It's why I've always been rather left-leaning, and it's why I absolutely do not care that Johnny Rotten is a Trump supporter, and why it's probably no surprise to most of you that I'm actually going to vote for Trump. You know why?
Because I'm probably going to vote for Trump. You know why? Because you're a Trump supporter. Like, I look through your Twitter, and about 10 minutes on your Twitter, you're a Trump supporter. I don't know what you got going on. I don't know what you got if this is just sort of an attention grift, a click grift or something, but it's probably just something to do with that, I guess. Okay, go ahead.
Middle Eastern peace deals, withdrawing our troops, end of story. Rand Paul tweeted about it. But let's talk about what's really going on, because we got all this data that says
wait a second,
peace deals supporter, and why it's probably no surprise to most of you that I'm actually going to vote for Trump. You know why? Middle Eastern peace deals, withdrawing our troops, and
is he talking about the guy who withdrew from the Iran? We talking about the same guy here? Wait a second. What? Despite U.S. sanctions, Iran, Iran expands its nuclear stockpile. 2 years after Trump withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal, Tehran has cut in half the time it would need to produce high enough weapons-grade fuel for a nuclear bomb. 2 years after President Donald Trump announced the U.S. withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal, Tehran has resumed its enrichment of uranium, restarted research and development on advanced centrifuges, and expanded its stockpile of nuclear fuel, cutting in half the time it would need to produce enough weapons-grade fuel to build a nuclear bomb. That doesn't sound so safe, Tim. Like, I almost think what's going on here is that we have people who are a fan of this guy. Maybe it's some kind of thing of wanting to feel like you have secret knowledge and that there's something, out there, the mainstream, like people don't understand what you understand. Oh no, actually, Trump seems like an idiot. It seems like an idiot and a failure and a guy who's gotten tons of people killed from a virus that totally have, as we've seen in other countries like South Korea and Japan and blah, 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 that could have been prevented. Seems like an idiot, but actually he's really smart because I know some knowledge that you don't know because I watch this guy who wears a beanie who tells me the secret knowledge. What is this? This is a guy, by the way, I found out about this guy because of Sam Cedar talks about him sometimes. Easy content for old Sammy. Easy content for old Sammy. Who I love, gotta love Sam Cedar. And he talks about this guy, and I almost feel like he's was created, like this guy was like Sam Cedar created this guy in some test lab just so to provide content to Sam Cedar to make fun of. Because it's too stupid. It's too stupid. I'm sorry. I don't know. This seems like more of a business decision with this guy. Right? Like his brain has to be able to make these connections. That if you pull out of a deal that was, a pretty much unanimous success at the time. I mean, let's not go too much into the Iran nuclear deal because I'm sure it's more complicated than either of two YouTube dinguses can understand, and you should do your own research on that. But this seems, I mean, just the basic thing with the punk stuff that somehow a guy who supports the president of the United States is somehow rebelling against the establishment, a guy was born into wealth and who owns property throughout the world and blah, 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 who was on a major TV network, a giant corporation, which is part of his fame and yada yada. Like, somehow this guy is not establishment. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Your brain has to understand that these things don't compute. Guys, what are you doing? Why are you watching this? I mean, I could pull a Sammy Cedar and just watch this guy. And I watched a couple other of his videos, and it's like the same kind of crap. Culture war nonsense. He barely talks about any real policy or any of the things that are actually important, like the things that I mentioned in the first fucking 10 minutes of this stupid video. What is this? Why are you guys watching this? Is this like Joe Rogan, where it's just playing in the background while you're taking a dump or something? Or you're operating a forklift? Are you guys all like Ripley from Aliens? You're in that yellow mech suit. Bzz, 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 bzz. And then she winks at the guy who didn't think she could operate it. You remember that part? But in your Bluetooth, you're listening to this. So basically, 0.008% of your brain is actually processing this information. That's another thing, by the way, with these podcasts. You listen to podcasts. How much of that information are you actually retaining, do you think? And I like a lot of these stuff. I think there's some great podcasts out there. But a lot of the time I'm cleaning some garbage or something, or I'm going to Dairy Queen or something and I'm listening. This is in the background. It's how much am I actually getting out of that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'm retaining very much of this information. So podcasting, as much as we like it, and there are some great ones, you know, calm down. Sit down. Maybe for once in your life, sit down and listen to a podcast and just to try to retain the information. And if it's stupid, the podcast, then you unsubscribe. If you can't listen to it sitting down and focusing on it, you probably shouldn't listen to it in the background. Okay? It's a public service announcement from my channel. So I wanted to do, let me lead this in. That's the when something important is about to happen, you hear that sound. So what I take from this video, and I'm trying to learn, and so what I learned from this guy's video is that Trump is punk. He's anti-establishment, despite being the president of the United States, and having totally establishment policies like corporate tax cuts and deregulation, right down the line Republican policy. That he's punk though, and Johnny Rotten, an elderly millionaire, is also represents the people, a proven troll and a humanity hater, who despite again world destruction, let's give it up, let's give credit where credit's due. I feel like I am smarter, and I learned. Thank you. What is this guy's name? Crim Cool? Whatever it is. Thank you.
World destruction, your life ain't nothing. The human race is becoming a disgrace.